This is Eric Hayden with the National Weather Service in Binghamton, New York. This is a video that's a little bit different and kind of unlike anything we've done before. It won't be quite as short as some of our briefings. This is more in depth. If you're really into the weather, specifically lake effect snow in this case, keep watching. We're going to talk a little bit about how lake effect snow happens, why our forecast has changed somewhat over the last 24 hours. And this will kind of be good information for you to keep in the back of your mind throughout the winter season, especially when we're dealing with a lake effect snow. This video was made around 7 o'clock on Wednesday evening. And again, right now we have a lake effect snow warning for the northern part of our area. That's northern Oneida County, but also the Tug Hill Plateau, and that's covered by the National Weather Service office in Buffalo. South of the warning area, we have a watch. A reminder of that a watch means that conditions are favorable. It's a possibility we could have some heavy lake effect snow, but still some question marks, and that's why we haven't upgraded to a warning or an advisory. And a little bit farther south, we still may see some squalls down across Cortland, Otsego, and Chenango County. We'll talk a little bit more about that. I want to bring your attention to, perhaps on social media, you're watching this on YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook. We put a lot of information there, but if you go to weather.gov/BGM, and scroll to the bottom, you can get our briefings right here, and also this winter weather page is really nice. If you click on that, that will always give you our latest snowfall map. So I know a lot of you may be scrolling through your timeline or your Twitter feed, and you'll see a map like this, but we update it first on the website, then put it on social media. And we've gotten some questions. You're forecasting a foot and a half of snow. What's changed? Well, we're fine-tuning things, and that's important to continue to check back for updates. As we get new information, we see new things, we'll make adjustments, and hopefully the best forecast will be the one right before the snow starts falling. So we are still forecasting perhaps as much as a foot of snow, southern Onondaga, southern Madison, kind of the hills between Syracuse and Cortland, and the hills south of Utica. That's one bullseye, and that's why we have that watch up. And it does look like we may just get clipped in extreme northern Oneida County. I know this map is not showing the forecast from Buffalo. We'll try to hop over there and show you. But the northwest part of the county, Ava, Florence, that area, will get in on the snow. But overall, these amounts are lower than we forecast just 24 hours ago. And I'll kind of go into the reason why that's happening. First of all, this is a program that we use. You can actually get it at home. It's called Bufkit. We can ingest model data. And I'll go over a couple things. But first, focus on the left-hand part of your screen. This is roughly where the model thinks the lake effect snow band will be. And what it's doing is, on the right, this is the ground, the brown, and then 5,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 15. So we're going up in the atmosphere. And this little white bar over here, I can move those around, up or down. And between the one at the ground level and the one here, which I can adjust, it'll take a mean wind. So whatever the mean wind is in that layer, that's where these boxes will be. And this is for tomorrow morning. A wind flow out of the southwest. Any lake effect snow would be well to our north, up toward Watertown and over toward Buffalo in terms of the real significance. So the first thing we look for, we start to look, what is the wind direction? Where's that snow going to go? You have to be cold enough for lake effect precipitation to occur. Roughly about 13 degrees Celsius difference between the temperature of the water, the lake itself, and about 5,000 feet. That's roughly about 23 degrees Fahrenheit. So and down here is a little box we look at, and anytime this number gets into the teens, that's cold enough for lake effect precipitation, if it's cold enough for either rain or snow. So we're certainly cold enough. We're looking at the wind. So early tomorrow, the heavier bands would be northern New York and western New York. The wind tells us a lot too, though. I'm going to kind of scroll through this kind of quickly as we get toward later Thursday afternoon. So tomorrow afternoon, the wind is more westerly, and the band may get down into our area. And then as we get into Thursday night and Friday, the band of snow, again, forecasted by the models, would be roughly over central New York. Now, the wind is important. It can make just a small difference in wind direction makes all the difference in the world. A 10-degree difference, a 310 wind versus a 300 wind, can make a big difference. And this is why we can get 60 inches of snow in one area and 10 miles north or south gets nothing. So it's all about the wind, and very, very, just a small subtle change will change that. The other thing I want to point out is we're going to back up a little bit. We'll say to tomorrow. This is a west wind. You can see the band of snow in this case would be across the Tug Hill Plateau. But this wind flow, as I do the arrow back and forth on the screen, is across the full length of Lake Ontario, and that's what we call a long fetch. And this is why these areas east of the lake typically get hammered. The Tug Hill, yes, they have the enhanced terrain, but it's also because of that long fetch. And what I mean by that, the wind's going over the lake and it has a long time to pick up moisture from the lake and produce snowfall. As we go into tomorrow night, and especially in the day on Friday, our winds become more northwesterly. And as you watch my arrow now, our winds are coming out of Canada across Lake Ontario, but I'm going over a shorter part of Lake Ontario. It's a shorter fetch. And this is why, yes, we can have snows down towards Syracuse, and we have another little bullseye between Cortland and Syracuse, but it's nothing like we get up in the Tug Hill on average, and that's because of that shorter fetch. So wind direction tells us where's the snow going to be, and then that can also tell us, is it going to be a lot of snow because of a better fetch, or maybe not as high amounts because of a shorter fetch. So those are all variables that we look at. So kind of focused on the event for tomorrow into Friday. Again, starting off perhaps well to the north of our area, but we're still thinking later in the day, the band starts to come into northern Oneida County. You may notice a little bit of how this box changed from green or yellow to green. The yellow is just saying that between this layer, again, that we're looking at, there's a change in wind direction. So there's a little bit of shear, and that may make this band tomorrow a little bit more spread out and not as concentrated. The result would be that it would get into northern Oneida County, but it may not produce the heavy snowfall rates that we earlier were looking at. The other thing that we're looking at for snowfall is how long does this band stay here? We still think northern Oneida County will see the most snow, but it's north of the area. It settles in for, this is 5 o'clock on Thursday. Again, it's just a model for a good chunk of Thursday night, and then it sweeps south. We have a front moving through, and you see that sweep south. How long does it stay up in northern Oneida County? That's something else we're watching. We think the change may be a little quicker, so we've lowered amounts a little bit up there. And this is why you folks down toward the Utica area may not see a ton, because it's to your north for a good chunk of Thursday night, and then as it comes through early Friday morning, then it settles down more towards Syracuse and south of you. One thing I want to point out is something we like to call the inversion height. And this is really neat. We'll pick out 11 o'clock tomorrow night, maybe around midnight. This red line is the temperature, and the green line is the dew point. When they're close together, that means there's a lot of moisture, so this is really, really good. But I want you to kind of look. We'll pick this time. Generally speaking, this red line goes from right to left, and as we go up in the atmosphere, again, the brown is the ground, and that's 5 and 10,000 feet. Generally speaking, we're getting colder, because if you look real carefully at the numbers at the bottom, from right to left is colder, and as you go to the right, it's warmer. So gradually we're getting colder, and that's normal. But right here, we're starting to warm up a little bit. That's called an inversion. Usually, as you go up in the atmosphere, it gets colder. When it gets warmer, it's called an inversion, and this actually puts a cap on the atmosphere. And think about thicker or deeper clouds that can produce more snow. And we're still talking shallow. This is not like thunderstorm clouds, but 10,000 foot cloud for lake effect is actually pretty deep. I'm going to put on the clouds. Might help you visualize a little bit better. I'm going to change just a little bit. We'll say right about there. So again, about 10,000 feet worth of clouds. That's pretty deep for lake effect snow. Deeper clouds, more snow. So this is why we think the snow, could be heaviest up across northern Oneida County. But watch what happens as we go from Thursday evening, again, deep clouds, and as I go into the day on Friday, look what happens. It's really illustrated well by the white area, and that's where the model thinks the clouds will be. Here's this inversion. Again, we're cooling, 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 but now we're going to the right here. So here's our inversion. We're actually warming between 5 and 10,000 feet. So the clouds Friday Friday night into Saturday, not as deep, about half as deep. Now, that doesn't mean that the snow is just going to stop, but it means the snow Friday into Friday night, as it gets down towards Syracuse, Madison County, those areas, may not be as heavy as it will be up across northern Oneida County. Now, that's not a big change over the last 24 hours. It always looked like Thursday night the clouds were going to be the deepest. However, over the last 24 hours, one of the reasons why we lowered the snowfall amounts is yesterday it looked like they would be lower, but maybe still up around 7,000 or 8,000 feet. The new model runs are suggesting that our inversion could be as low as 4,000 or 5,000 feet. So that's one of the reasons why we lowered snowfall amounts. Clouds not as deep, not as likely to produce that snowfall. The other reason, again, just going back to the fetch, we don't have the best fetch over the lake. We're looking upstream, Georgian Bay, some of the upper Great Lakes may help to negate this, but that's something we're watching. But one of the big reasons we lowered snowfall totals is that height of the inversion on Friday and Friday night is not as high. So we continue to watch in these areas. We'll continue to look at it, probably have an update with the overnight shift. One more thing I want to point out, something that's not quite as favorable, but we'll certainly take a look at it, and I'll have to switch things around. I'm going to take some of these off because it gets a little crazy when you have everything. The first thing on here is moisture. The white line here is where we are now, and this is Thursday night into Friday. So purples and greens are a lot of moisture. Moisture and lift mean precipitation, so I'm going to put lift on here. Anywhere you see the red is lift. So this is really good. And again, as you go from the ground, which is the brown shade, up, you're going high into the atmosphere. So 5, 10, 15,000 feet. So we've got deep moisture up toward 10,000 feet Thursday afternoon. This is up across northern Oneida County, by the way, and then also Thursday night into Friday morning. And then we have this lift. I'm going to put on one more thing, and again, this is why meteorology forecasts can be troublesome. This is called snow growth. I'm going to toggle it on and off. And what we're looking for is between these two lines is the optimal temperature for snowflakes. If we've got moisture and rising air, which we call lift, in that layer, you get those gigantic, big flakes that accumulate quickly. Well, we've got the moisture. Let me toggle that back on. And we've got the lift, again, all through this 5,000 feet. The problem is the best snow growth may be between 5,000 and 7,000 feet. And I'm a big football fan, and they say, football is a game of inches. Well, meteorology, we're just talking a couple thousand feet of difference. That's nothing. However, yesterday, the snow growth layer was a little bit lower, and it lined up with the best lift and moisture, and we thought we'd have really good, efficient snowflakes. Again, those big snowflakes. Doesn't look as favorable today, so that's why we've lowered amounts. So hopefully this wasn't too much for you, but just a little bit on why most meteorologists tend to lose their hair over time, because it's very complicated. You're talking a 10-degree wind difference will mean who gets the snow and who doesn't. Things such as snow growth, is it good or not, will make a difference, and also that inversion height. I want to end with where you can get information, because this was designed to be in-depth, and hopefully you got a lot of information out of that. Cannot stress this enough, weather.gov/BGM. If you like these types of things, every day we write a forecast discussion. I'll click on that now. Sometimes there's jargon in there, it may be a little hard to understand, but we update these multiple times a day, and it'll talk about our confidence and things we're looking at. So if you're into this type of thing, I would check out our forecast discussion. And on the mobile site, if you go to mobile.weather.gov, you can kind of see the forecast play out. So in this case, I'll pick up something like Ava, New York, and we'll go there, and you can kind of see the forecast itself. It's just an overview at the top, our warning, so if you need to know about amounts. And this is on a PC device now, but certainly encourage you to do this on your smartphone or mobile device. And then we get specific. So Thursday, gone are the days of a 30% chance of snow showers. We will get very specific. So in the morning, 20% chance. This is up in northwest Oneida County. But notice as I'm scrolling, 50% chance by early afternoon, then an 80% chance by evening. This mobile forecast, this is by the hardworking men and women here at the Weather Service in Binghamton and all across the country. We work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, here for you, and we're painstakingly trying to get this forecast right. We want you to look at this information, and again, it'll adjust. We'll make changes. Hopefully, we'll be in the ballpark, but and those are just some of the resources that are at your fingertips. Last leave you, again, I mentioned the website on the very bottom of the screen. We want to thank everybody for following us. We remain one of the top 5 followed pages in the Weather Service for Facebook. If you haven't followed us on Facebook, I encourage you to do so. Twitter, we're also there. We're actively putting information out. And YouTube is a little bit slower, so if you like a video like this, we're still kind of getting feedback. Share it with friends. We're watching how many people watch and some of the stats on what we do to decide what we're going to do going forward. So certainly take a look at that. Again, my name is Eric Hayden. I'll last leave you with our website. Check that information out. If you like things like this, wherever you're watching it, please comment or send information to us so that we know that you like these types of things. Hope everybody has a great night.